What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Postgame Podcast. I'm here with Cory Smith, here with my guy Miles Masercola. Miles, NC State, a 98-88 win over Pittsburgh, a much-needed win, snapping a 4-game losing streak. NC State had lost 6 of their last 7. Now, I believe a 6-game winning streak in the ACC Tournament, which is nice to say. Yes. I think it's, the second longest in NC State history. Let's not, discuss the fact that they didn't make it last year, but not bad for Will Wade's debut. Obviously, you would like for the defense to have been a little better in this game, but I felt like a lot of that was just Pitt shooting, well above their weight in this game, and NC State finding ways to be able to kind of finish and keep responding, and then once they got into the second half, NC State clearly looked the better team. Just your thoughts on this game before we really jump into things, Ben.
Supremely important win for a lot of different reasons. It pretty, you don't want to say like definitively, but you feel very, very confident that this win secures your bid in the big dance. So that's obviously such a huge deal.
It also helped that you had two other teams lose in Stanford and blinking on the other one yesterday, Virginia Tech.
Yes.
So
that is huge in itself. And then just for this team emotionally to get a win after really, really struggling the last few weeks, and even in those close moments where they just weren't able to get the job done, finding a way to come out, deal with early adversity, overcome it, and then kind of put your foot down in the second half, and at the same time survive another push from Pitt late, because they did cut it to 5 with 5 minutes left, and then Quadir Copeland just manipulated everything about that game down the stretch and found a way to get the win. So it was a very, very important game, but there's still, and as Will Wade said, a lot of things to clean up if they want to beat Virginia.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I felt like NC State matched Pitt's physicality a little better in this game.
I think they edged them, especially late in the second half. That's really what turned the tide for them after going down 9. Yeah,
that and the fact that, you saw Pitt kind of be able to get up for a few of those moments, but it just felt like Pitt was more worn down. Obviously, they play with about a 7-man rotation at most. Injuries have kind of caused that as well, but they only play with 7 men. So, we'll talk about it in a second, but it just really felt like NC State was attacking them early and often to try to get them into foul trouble and get them to play on their heels a little bit more in this game. And that was something that they were not able to do the first time around on the road. And, actually, kind of held their own on the boards at the very least. Not necessarily, I don't think they ended up winning the battle on the boards. It was 23-22. But the last time these two teams played, it was 52-21 or 31 or something like that.
Yeah.
So, it was significantly better margin for NC State there. Before we jump into things, though, I want to remind our listeners, as always, visit our iTunes, Google Play Store, YouTube, Spotify, anywhere that you get the podcast. Give us a rating. Let people know you enjoy the podcast. Get the word out there to the rest of Wolfpack Nation. Also, if you are watching this on YouTube, make sure to hit like, subscribe, get notifications so you can jump on with us each and every single time we do one of these, whether it's a post-game, a weekly podcast, Coffee with Cory, whatever. If I'm doing those live, I don't always do them live, but do make sure that you do that so that you can jump on with us each and every single time. Also, if you're not a subscriber, make sure that you check that out. We're going to have coverage throughout all of March, however long it goes. We'll have coverage of this ACC tournament and into the NCAA tournament now that we more than likely know NC State will get there. Still hoping for an at-large bid, but you could make a run here. We'll see. We'll talk about the Virginia matchup here in just a little bit. But do make sure that you subscribe. PackPower247 is the website, and it's 50% off right now when you sign up for an entire year if you sign up now. And yes, first of all, shout out to the Locked On Wolfpack guys, Grayson and Kenton over there. And then
great roller coaster from them on Twitter today.
Yes.
They did a great job riding that roller coaster.
And Grayson, I'm assuming, is the one on here, said, Quadir Copeland backpack mode. Yes, he put the team on his back from start to finish. And, the thing that I loved about Q's game in this one, and we'll just jump right into Q's game, what he did today, 24 points, 8 assists, did not have a ton of turnovers in this game. That was the one frustration for him the last time out. He actually, I believe, has now had 44 combined points between the two games against Pitt this season, and had 9 assists last time, had 8 assists this time. Did have 5 turnovers, but none of them felt like super costly turnovers. There was a couple that were just bad passes where he, passed it to a guy and nobody was there, and then had one where he, kind of put it over top. I think it was to Vin or Musa. I can't remember who it was.
It was actually Darian underneath.
Yeah, it was Darian underneath the basket. Yeah, and he just kind of
sailed it.
Overshot it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. If it was a quarterback, it would have been intercepted by a guy on the other side. So, just your thoughts on Q's game and what that meant to NC State today too.
He was so intentful in the way he attacked, meaning like he knew exactly, depending on the matchup, where he had to go.
Yeah.
He did an incredible job using his eyes. He also kept his dribble alive. He avoided playing off of one foot.
Mm-hmm.
If he sensed that there was a lot of help coming in, he would put his back to the basket. He would be able to see over whoever was guarding him, and then he would make a decision based on where the help came from. And on top of that, it also helps when you shoot. What did they shoot from three? 13 of 23 from deep. Lower volume than normal, but they still shot it at such a great clip. With Darion Williams going 4 for 5, scoring all 12 of his points from behind the three-point line. But Q, his ability to get to the basket both in transition and in the half court at his size, and was very, very driven in his approach of getting to the rim and finishing with that dominant right hand with a ton of consistency. The other thing that he did, this was mainly in that last third or so of the first half, started putting a lot of pressure on Pitt's defense with his physicality.
Mm-hmm.
He got to the free throw line. I think NC State took 20 of their 27 free throws in the first half, and they made 16 of them. They were 23 of 27 from the line today. That is a very, very good formula for success when you have your 6'7" point guard getting downhill, making great reads, positive assist to turnover. It was a very, very high-level offensive game from NC State with Quadir Copeland being the main one.
Yeah, and I mean, just to kind of add to that, the fact that NC State shot 23 of 27, like you didn't just have 27 attempts and you make 17
you
of
made
them.
Like 83%.
Yeah, exactly. State missed 9 in the last game, and it ended up being a 1-point game. So you just never know which one could end up sealing the game for you. And another big thing too that was important here was, as much as Pitt was outpacing NC State offensively in the first half, it really felt like the focus was to get them into foul trouble, to exert your physicality, to be able to drive inside. Back to what you're saying about Q, but it seemed like everybody had that focus. Like Vinal Lubin gets the ball underneath, and he's not just immediately going up and taking the shot. He's getting his defender on him, then going up and getting hit. Whether he made the shot or not, because I mean, he finished 8 of 8.
He had a quiet 18 today.
Yeah, 8 of 8 from the free throw line, 5 of 6 overall. Only 5 rebounds in this game, but again, it's funny because NC State lost the rebounding battle, but the two teams combined for a total of 55 rebounds because both teams were shooting so effectively in this game. NC State shot 60%, and Pitt actually, I believe, outshot 57.1%. They got some pretty bad shots down the stretch, but they were pretty neck and neck above 60%.
And Van Allen Lubin, Will was very, very meticulous in the way he managed his fouls.
Yes.
Would take him out right before a media timeout if he got one. Maybe when you wouldn't think. I know he had one and came out before the under 16. I'm very curious as to the analytical system they're using on when to pull him out, when he's likely to pick up that quick one next. But they did a great job managing that. He probably kept him, pretty in good condition, didn't get too tired as the game went along, still played 32 minutes. And the spot minutes from Scotty Abube didn't hurt NC State really at all.
Yeah.
So they were able to find a way to get Lubin involved early and often, and down the stretch was really, really good.
Yeah, and they were using him a lot more in this game, and it would be interesting to see if they kind of continue that with Virginia tomorrow. But once Pitt got off to a good start from three-point range, they were using him a lot to kind of hedge those ball screens, get up top. So it did feel like he was exerting a little bit more energy in the first half, and that, between the fouls and trying to kind of massage those fouls and not getting him into foul trouble, but also knowing that if you're going to win this entire thing, you've got to win 4 games over 4 days. So you need a fresh Vinal Lubin. He still ended up playing 32 minutes, but it just didn't feel like there was a lot of, exhaustive minutes.
No, and he had frequent breaks too. So he was able to stay fresh. And then Scotty, he only played 6 minutes, had 4 fouls, which is completely fine, and finished a +1. So like you said, you didn't really see too much of a dip. He was able to kind of hold his own in his minutes. The other thing with Van Allen Lubin, him going 8 of 8 from the line is really, really, really big.
Yeah.
Because he is not a horrible free throw shooter, but not the most consistent. Probably.
Yeah, we're talking about 65%.
Between 60 and 70% for most of his career. Yeah. So him being perfect and capitalizing on those touches was very, very vital for this team. And 18 points on 6 attempts is incredible.
Yeah, the thing I also loved about this game too is, look, you got Matt Abel off the bench hit 2 3-pointers. Darian Williams 4 of 5 from 3-point range, which is massive for NC State because, again, you know what you're getting from Q. Now, if he gets into trouble, Darian Williams can take the ball, and if he's as effective as he was today.
He had 4 assists, 1 turnover. Was really good.
Exactly. 12 points, 4 assists, 1 turnover, 3 rebounds in this game. Like, if you're getting that kind of effort from him, along with a good game from Quadir Copeland or a good game from Paul McNeel or a good game from Trey Holloman, like, all of those guys came to play in this game. And I think getting that confidence, obviously, you're going to play against Virginia tomorrow, but like, it just today felt like one of the more complete efforts, at least offensively. Defensively, we'll talk about in a second, but offensively, it just felt like a complete effort from NC State across the board in this one.
Yeah, and I think another guy that deserves some love on this one was the way Trey Holloman played today. Yeah, because every time they needed him to make a shot and he got a touch, he made it.
Yeah,
it was very, very vital, the shots that he hit. He was really, really pesky on the boards defensively as well, had a couple tip outs, and just played a true 94-foot game, and the kind of game he's played over the course of his career that's contributed to all the games he's won over the course of his career.
And he won a lot of his defensive matchups too. Like, he was probably really good on the ball.
He was NC State's best perimeter defender in this game.
Yeah. I mean, and that's saying something. The issue, of course, is the fact that when you're, when Pitt is shooting the ball as well as they did, they got off to a really hot start.
For context, 8 for 12 to start the game, finished 12 of 27. So even on their next 15, they only hit 4, which isn't terrible, but at the same time, like, they were really, really shooting it. And a lot of those, I would say 3 or 4 of those were contested on the move shots. Like, they really put a lot of pressure on NC State to bring it offensively with the way they were making shots.
Yeah. And I mean, it wasn't just that, it was also the fact that they had 5 different guys make 3-pointers in this game. 4 of those, I believe out of the first 5, 4 of them ended up coming from different players in this game. Actually, I want to make sure I get that straight.
Like 4 different guys hit
threes. It was 4 different guys. They ended up hitting threes. But yeah, again, like, even DeMarco Minor, a guy that doesn't typically shoot a ton of threes, 1 for 3 in this game. Witherspoon, them getting him into foul trouble early was critical as well, because he ended up with 3 fouls right before you get to the half. So he ends up, finishing with the most points for them. But again, they kind of had to massage his minutes in this game. So you didn't have him out there on the court a ton, particularly at the end of the first half. So that was another big one for NC State. But I do want to go over to the defensive side of the basketball. A lot of times it feels like for NC State, it's been a struggle to be able to, defend on the perimeter. This was, again, not a lot of room for Pitt. So I will give this more to Pitt to say, like, hey, they had to make tough shots, but there were a few open opportunities early, and that led to 2 or 3 different guys getting that confidence early on that maybe they wouldn't have if NC State had defended better early on.
Yeah, we talked about this just the other night on Monday at a media. It was like, you cannot allow the primary offensive weapons on other teams to get comfortable early. NC State over the last few weeks has done that and not been able to overcome it.
Yeah,
it still happened today.
Yeah, Cameron Corin. Yeah.
I would say Corin was 9 for 12 from the floor, and it wasn't even as much him early. It was Witherspoon creating off the bounce, and then the great Nojus Indricitis,
yeah,
sniper today, and had his career high.
Most 3-pointers he's ever made in a game, by the way.
Yes, he was 5 of 8 from 3, and he's a good player.
Yeah.
But for him to go out and get 19 points on 6 shots, 6 assists, he got really comfortable early. And when you get a guy like that has ability but doesn't necessarily produce at a really, really high level, and he's able to get comfortable and kind of show himself, that's when things get scary. But NC State, they fell down early, 8-2. Wade calls a timeout. They're able to get things going offensively, and then they find themselves down 9 heading into the under 8. And the response from there offensively, they were in total control, and they got spurts of moments defensively where they made things happen. But you haven't even – it feels like it's been a month since we've seen like a really good defensive half from this team. And that's like they're going to need at least
the second half was significantly better defensively for NC State.
Was significantly better, but they still gave up – they were still on pace to give up 79 points to Pitt if it was just the second half.
Yeah.
They gave up or 76, excuse me. I'm not the best at math. That's why I write. But they gave up 38 points in the second half. So they're going to have at least one half against Virginia tomorrow where they give up 30 or less points to win that game. Yeah. It's unless they're going to shoot it at this level or better again, which is going to be harder to do against UVA. there's definitely things that need to be shored up. It's knowing your personnel. It's just possession focus on that end of the floor.
Yeah, and interesting fact here too. I had forgotten. Obviously, I knew this was Matt Abel's first game. I had forgotten that Paul McNeel didn't even get a chance to play in the ACC tournament last year. So this is.
I had more ACC
debut.
Tournament appearances last year than Paul McNeel. I was here. He was.
Yeah. Yeah. You were at least roaming the sidelines.
I was floating around.
Yeah. So for him, his ACC debut, 15 points, 4 of 6 from the field, 3 of 5 from 3-point range, and only 2 assists in this game. But I was talking to you about this after the game. The shot fake that he had, that was not something that we've seen a ton this season, but we've at least seen it every once in a while. Didn't see it. It wasn't a part of his game at all last year. And I felt like that one, I believe it was a dish inside to Vinal Lubin, just a wide open, Lubin gets wide open because of, the gravity that Paul McNeel pulls once he's making threes. Just felt like that to me. I picked him as my, my pick to click before this game. There's a lot of other guys that had better games than him,
but he just clicked.
Yeah, but it just, to me, it felt like him making shots early drew more attention to him and led to other guys getting open looks.
And it just lets you breathe a little easier when he's hitting, because he's such a rhythm shooter. And that's another thing with Paul McNeel. The biggest area of growth we've seen from him this year is his ability as a connector on the offensive end of the floor, making sure he's running through the set with no purpose because it might open somebody else up if they overhelp on him. He does a great job making decisions with the basketball at this point, and just does such a good job existing and flourishing within a system, but also shining in that role. Yeah. And it's leading to, again, very, very efficient game. 15 points on 6 field goal attempts. You take that every single time from him.
Yeah. Had an NBA scout sitting next to me throughout the game, and he, when McNeel hit the corner 3, and then I believe it was on the very next possession where he had that assist, he was just like, dude, that guy can do it all. I'm like, he can. The biggest thing for him is just consistently knocking down shots, and that's what it's going to take for NC State in order to at least compete with Virginia tomorrow, something that it hasn't done this year in 2 different matchups. Just your thoughts on, talking to the players afterwards. We asked them, first of all, sense of relief after this one, knowing that you're in the NCAA tournament. A couple guys were like, yeah, it is a relief, but at the same time, everybody said, we want to make a run here. We want, we're not done in the ACC tournament. We can help ourselves not only in the NCAA tournament seeding, but also guarantee that we're in and
just build momentum.
Build a lot more confidence and momentum before you get to the NCAA tournament. So just your thoughts on NC State clinching an NCAA tournament seed, but also what it's going to take to, again, compete and figure out a way to try to take down Virginia tomorrow.
There should be a lot of tension removed from those within the walls of the NC State program at this point, which is always a good thing to benefit you moving forward, regardless of what is next. Mm-hmm. With Virginia being next, it is a very, very tall task. This team is not a good matchup.
Literally a tall task.
Yes, it is literally a tall task. And then you have the little guy to worry about running around in pants.
Exactly.
But no, this UVA team is very, very, very good. They handled NC State very easily in the second matchup, pretty easily in the first one.
Yeah.
But the opportunity of now you have you have tension-free vengeance right at your front door, and you have a chance to go beat a team that has proven to be one of the best in the ACC, probably one of the 15 best teams in the country, and it's a perfect opportunity. But they have got to shore up defensively because if you don't know your personnel against Virginia, their personnel will kill you. They are simply too good of a team to not have really, really high level engagement and focus at the defensive end of the floor. Offensively, if you can find a way to even do 80% of what you did today, you give yourself a chance. You genuinely do. But you have to bring it more defensively because they will kill you if you don't.
Yeah, and I was going to say too, it just feels like on the offensive end, the only way that you can really compete with this team, obviously if you're able to kind of draw some attention off of Vinal Lubin and get him open underneath the basket, sure, he can hit shots, but life is going to be difficult for Quadir Copeland, for him, and for guys like Trey Holloman trying to drive to the basket. This was kind of the mode that they tried to go in early on the road at UVA. I think it was 8 of their first 10 or 9 of their first 13 shots were from 3-point range, just trying to hit some. They didn't, and then quickly fell behind, and then they were able to get back into it. I think it was 15-15 when Paul McNeel hit a 3, and then UVA pulled away again. So to me, offensively, and give me your thoughts on what NC State needs to do offensively to compete. But it feels like this is a game where NC State not only needs to be hit a bunch of threes, but you also need to be extremely efficient from 3-point range like they were today.
Yeah, it's you definitely, you have to be efficient. You got to hit at least probably 35% of your threes if you're on a good volume. The other thing is to do what you did today. I know Virginia's a deeper team than Pitt, but still getting fouls, trying to be aggressive and dictate the physicality. Physicality, obviously you have to be big and strong. That's a huge factor, but it is a mental thing more than anything else. Yeah, like having the willingness to go in there and dish out and take punishment. It's very similar to cardio. Cardio is in a lot of ways a mental thing. If they can push through that wall and kind of try to dictate themselves against Virginia and maybe even catch them slipping, they haven't played in about a week. It's a noon game. You have to try to get out to an early, strong start, and that is a combination of hitting shots, driving kick, and then getting to the free throw line and trying to get guys and the key players from Virginia on the bench.
Yeah, and good point here from Kent. Said entire starting five with 30-plus minutes today, going to need to not only hit shots but also need the bench to really show up tomorrow. And shout out to Matt Abel for showing up. Terrence Arsenault only took one shot but hit a three in transition, and that was massive for NC State too. Matt Abel, 5 of 12 from the field. Not a great clip overall. He was actually the least efficient shooter for NC State in this game.
He took almost all good shots, though. He had a couple drives in traffic that were a little ambitious, but nothing that he's not capable of making, and probably deserved a foul call on one or two of those. Yeah. But at the same time, all 7 threes he took were great looks. Yeah. They just didn't get get to fall for him, but he brought a ton of energy for this team today, and he's actually emerged into a more consistent producer off the bench here in the ACC. Something
Will Wade told us a few weeks ago that was going to happen, and he has. And it couldn't come at a more perfect time for NC State. He only played 15 minutes in this game, but took 12 shots. That's
maximizing your usage right there, brother.
Exactly.
Great work.
Look, man, I'm trying to be microwave Matt here and hit a couple, and he did. And that's exactly what NC State needed. Again, you probably need him to be a little more efficient tomorrow going into that game, given just, again, the size and physicality that Virginia plays with compared to NC State. But if you're able to be efficient offensively again in that game tomorrow, that would be massive for what NC State's trying to accomplish.
Yeah. I was going to say, too, I know they play a fair amount of minutes together, but having the luxury of being able to stagger Abel and McNeel's minutes and always make sure you have one of them in the game on the wing. And they both put a lot of pressure on the defense in different ways, but there's someone you have to account for them at all times out there, and that's great that you have, not much of a drop-off, if any drop-off at all, when those two are coming in and out for each other. It really just depends on the night.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, and I'll mention this when I do my coffee with Cory tomorrow, because I'll probably, until this run ends, I'll just try to preview the upcoming game each and every single time. But the other one here is the fact that, NC State really needs to get off to a better start in that game. Both games against Virginia, they've gotten off to really slow starts, sluggish on offense, and then Virginia just being able to kind of impose their will on their offensive end of the floor against NC State. So getting off to a better start, being the team. Look, you're not going to be the freshest team coming into this game, but you have to use the fact that you were able to play in this game today to your advantage and be able to kind of transition all the things that went well for you today. Darian Williams being a shot creator, Quadir Copeland obviously hitting a couple shots from, well, actually he didn't hit any threes in this game. I felt he had a couple opportunities where I was like, oh, if he just pulls up here, he maybe makes it. But there's just, again, you have to be able to use all of this early and often in that game tomorrow in order to be able to truly compete against UVA.
Yeah, that's going to be the very, very interesting is I thought Darian played a good game today. He wasn't super aggressive scoring the ball. He was definitely hunting the three, which he was feeling very good about. Smart man to hunt the three today for him. Yeah. 4 for 5. He's so due for a signature game. Yep. What a time and place it would be to get it tomorrow that could potentially bring you over the edge. He's so due for one. Yeah. He's so due. And the clock is ticking on how many games are left.
Yeah. Well, and the fact that, his approach in the last game was he drove into a ton of traffic over and over and over again.
And he did that early tonight. Yeah. And then the first 2 shots he took tonight were not good shots. The other 5 he took, most of them were from 3, but even the 2 that he missed, the 1 2-pointer he missed was a good look. Yeah. It just happened to not fall for him. But after those first 2 attempts, when there was some visible frustration from him and Will Wade, he kind of settled back in and took better looks.
Yeah, exactly. And again, that's other guys hitting shots and alleviating some of the pressure for him. So I think that's, as much as everybody thought coming into the season, this is going to be your bus driver, this is going to be your dog all year long, that he's going to, kind of dictate the pace. Well, Quadir Copeland's dictated the pace. If you have Paul McNeel hitting shots, you have Matt Abel hitting shots, you have Trey Holloman hitting shots, all of a sudden it's like there's Darian Williams hitting 4 3-pointers in the game. So, but I do feel like that's the approach that he probably needs to take in the game tomorrow, just because of the fact, at least early on, to be able to kind of transition all of the things that you did today into that game tomorrow. It's not all going to work. You're not going to be able to get inside as much as they did today, and you're probably not going to be able to draw as much fouls just because UVA does play a smarter game of basketball.
I was about to say, too, if Darion Williams can take 7 or more free throws tomorrow, NC State's got a good chance.
Yeah.
That's like if he can be imposing and be aggressive, that would be huge for him. And that's something that he definitely could do and add to his game.
Yeah, he took 0 today. So, it's definitely something that he needs to do if you're going to be driving inside. Thank you to everybody for listening. We'll wrap this up. We'll try to make these as digestible as possible just because we know there is less than 24 hours. Last thing I want to say, by the way, shout out to guys like Scotty Boubet and Moussa Sanye. Didn't show up on the stat sheet a ton, but the two of them kind of giving Vinal Lubin some relief and both of them going in. And like you said earlier, not being a minus when you get out there on the court for either one of them in this game. And I think that, again, neither one of them took a shot. Neither one of them ended up with a rebound, but the two of them both going out there and just playing some effective minutes and holding court while Vinal Lubin gets some rest. And again, massaging those fouls will be critical because you're going to need that. We know, obviously, teams like UVA and Duke are going to go straight at him and try to get him to foul. You need some guys that can play other minutes outside of that too.
1,000%. Yeah. And Scotty's energy is a welcoming thing. You even feel it when he comes in for 90 seconds. It's like, we better go grab this freaking rebound. Yeah.
He is a bull in a china shop a little bit. So
yes, but that's perfect to play anywhere from 4 to 10 minutes a game.
Yes, exactly. Especially when you're playing a team as big as UVA is tomorrow. So we'll talk much more about this game. We'll have plenty of content up on the site. I'll also have a story later. Miles just followed the post-game takeaways, and we'll have some more video up here soon. So thank you to everybody for listening. We will talk to you guys again soon.